Right, guys, cool. So we'll get started. Obviously today, creating clarity, focus, and motivation. Exactly like Jamie's just been saying. What you find is that when you are in a situation where you're forced to build systems and you're forced to change your habits and you're forced into something that is completely out of routine. Me and Jamie have faced this a couple of times over the past couple of years. Once you put them systems in place and once you create that structure, once you get these three aspects, the clarity, focus, and motivation, then things start to fall in place. And I know for a fact that everybody training at home now over the next couple of weeks at least, but we'll look at this over the 8-week home workout block. And what we know is that you are nowhere near as limited as I've had people concerned that they are. In fact, for a lot of you, you are now in a situation where, at least from a health fitness point of view, you can move forward. You just need to implement these changes. So the things that we're going to cover today's plan, we're going to look at reframing your entire situation. You know, what are you looking at it like now, and what is it going to be in, obviously, by the end of this webinar? You will see things differently. I guarantee you that. We'll look at what isn't stopping you, what's not stopping you from moving forward. We'll talk about optimizing versus being efficient. And I spoke about this in a post a couple of weeks ago, way before any of this was going on. But being optimum is fine, but people get lost focusing on the wrong things. They focus on the little bits of stuff that, yes, look great and look fancy, but they're not the things that get you your results. The things when we're talking about efficiency and we're talking about getting things right and doing well in all areas, that's going to have so much more impact across board when it comes to getting your results. And then we'll go into setting your focus. We'll go into why willpower isn't going to be something that holds you back this time. Motivation. We'll talk about where motivation comes from and how you do create motivation. You can still control this. This isn't something that you sit around and wait for. This is something that you're in control of from as soon as this webinar ends today. You're going to take control of it. We're just going to discuss planning your success with habits. So Jamie, obviously, just jump in, obviously, whenever. But guys, when it comes to reframing your entire situation, Jamie sent me a quote this morning that he wanted to put on. Fear is knowing the result of an experience you haven't experienced yet. And what we're finding at the minute is everyone's in this situation. You've got a lack of certainty. All of you have a complete change in routine, complete change in schedule, potentially complete change in finances. At the minute, we're sat and we're waiting to hear things. We're sat waiting for an outcome that is out of our control. What is going to happen over the next 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks? Guys, if you're in that situation, what we need to do straight away is start to look at things differently. You need to start to take back control of the situation that you're in. And how we do that is looking at things differently. The photo there is just obviously an example of however you're looking at things. When you're so focused on one area and you can only see the thing that's right in front of you, you get confused as to what's going on. What we're going to try and do today is break this sort of tunnel vision, bit of an emotional transformation, step back and have a look at what's going on. Bigger picture, what can you actually control? What is actually happening? And what have you got control over?
From my point of view on here is that sometimes that we are so worried about what could and what might happen that we forget to do control the things that we can already control. And that's exactly what we saw saying here. Fear and the sort of, oh, it's going to be really difficult for us to train at the minute, or it's going to be really difficult for me to drop body fat, it's going to be really difficult for me to stay on plan. That really sort of, we're talking a minute about limiting beliefs, but this really is something that you need to question the story. And you might have heard me talk about your story before and about sort of what the situation that you've been in and what has stopped you. So people talk to me about time, motivation, clarity, focus, structure, all these things that sort of get on top of you that are your limiting factors to success. I looked at this and I woke up on Monday morning and obviously, yeah, we've got a lot of stress and there's a lot of things going on. But what we have as a group and what I have FX is that we have a very clear structure of this. And when we can start to step back out of it and we start to question what we've been told, question the sort of the saying. So if someone says, I'm too busy, we ask ourselves, is that statement true? Whatever it is that's limiting you right now to get great results over the next 8 weeks, just question the statement. Question, is that true? And ask yourself again, is that true? So maybe someone dropped one in. What is your fear over the next 8 weeks? And then ask yourself, is that statement true? And do you really believe that that's what's stopping you? Because if someone says to me, well, I'm not going to have the motivation, well, we know how you create motivation. So is that statement true? What's changed? What type of person do you want to be? Will that change or not?
Yeah. So guys, we're looking at, what stopped you so far. All of these excuses that we do get, like Jamie's just mentioned there, you've no time, you're too busy, you've no time to cook, you're not able to control the food that you're having and things like that. But guys, when we reframe it and we look at this differently, well, you had no time to work out. Is that still true? Is that still the case? You want your kids to be more active. Things as simple as that. Okay, well, now might be the perfect opportunity to do it. You don't know how to cook. Now might be the perfect opportunity to spend a little bit of time getting on top of things like that. And everybody says to me at certain times, we have these conversations and it's just not the right time to focus on my health. Well, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, when this started to become a really big concern, I think a lot of people had a bit of an epiphany that actually now was the right time. Now they do need to focus on the health. Health is not something that should be waiting until you finish the jobs that you're doing. We have to make sure that that's factored in all the way through. Looking at the situation that we're in right now, what stopped you before and what opportunities does this present? So things such as, I have no time to train, I have no time to work out. Well, even if nothing else, what you have saved recently is travel time. So I know that we've created time from traveling to and from work for most of you. Okay. That is more time that's now in your situation. And to be honest, again, stepping back, looking at where your time's going, looking at where your energy is going, there's probably a lot of things that it's not that you didn't have time, it's that your focus is in the wrong place. And what we'll speak about as we get towards the back end of this webinar is finding out what is important. What are you going to schedule time for? What are you going to put time in for? And what is taking up your time that doesn't contribute at all to you moving towards your goals?
Yeah, and I sort of jump in there because we're going to discuss it there at the end. I'm presuming that I haven't actually seen these slides that Josh has created, but what won't have changed is the type of person that you want to be. It might have, but it won't have changed in a negative way. The type of person that you want to be, the example that you want to set to your kids, the behavior that you want to be able to do every single day, that won't have changed just because the situation outside has changed. The type of person, whether you show up, whether you're committed to being healthy and fit and want to live a certain lifestyle, that won't have changed in a negative way. The only thing that might have done is it might, like Josh said, have woke people up and changed a bit more positive. I need to concentrate a little bit more on my health. But your daily actions now may be able to adjust to allow you, give you the opportunity to focus on and home in on that and really sort of double down on your morals, on your behaviors, and make sure that you sort of do the things that you said you was going to do.
Yeah.
To move on, Josh?
Yeah, cool. Brilliant. So guys, just before we do move on from that slide, so what I want you to be really clear on before you do anything, hopefully you've got a pen and paper here, or you can stick it into your notes on your phone or something. If not, just make sure that you're mindful of it for afterwards. But what are the things that have stopped you so far? And what about the situation that you're in now, what can you use to turn that into an opportunity, to turn that into a positive where you can have more time, more energy to focus on the things that are important to you? So now moving on. Optimization versus efficiency. I spoke about this briefly. And what we need to get a focus back to is focusing on the things that we can control. You know, there's a saying, I think it's Tony Robbins saying, but where attention goes, energy flows. And this is completely true in all different levels of psychology now. If you are spending your time thinking about the negatives, thinking about the things that you can't control, it's going to build anxiety. It's going to really put you in a difficult position to setting your goals. And it's not going to be helping you to move forward, not going to help you move towards what you're wanting to achieve. If we focus on things that we can control and we put structures in place and systems in place, then what we're able to do is take that focus, use that focus to start moving forward. If we're focusing on all the things that are way out of our control, we're sat waiting for results, we have no control over that. You literally sat waiting and your fitness is going to start going down, your health, your stress levels are going to go up. Guys, we need to come out of that situation. So what we need to do is start to see, well, what really matters at the minute, what really matters to you, and where can we move forward. Now, when we look at this from a health fitness point of view, right, what's gone on at the minute? Well, guys, for most of us with no gym now to work out, obviously, this isn't optimum. This is not something that in all situations we would say this is perfect. You've no gym, doesn't matter. You know, there are benefits to having the gym. But what I want you to think about now is what really matters in terms of getting results in fitness. And let's take a look at it. I mean, we use the FX Key 5. You guys know this. You guys have worked with us, or if you have worked with us, you know our Key 5. We look at fitness, nutrition, fulfillment, relaxation, recovery. These are all areas. And I've broken down into a couple of subsections, but only a couple. There's not anywhere near an exhaustive list here. This list could be much, much bigger. Now, in terms of fitness, how often are you training? How long are you training for? What type of training are you doing? How hard are you working? What structure have you got? Have you got progressions built in? In terms of nutrition, how's your digestion? What's the quality of your food? Calories, nutrients, sustainability, fulfillment, how much time are you giving to yourself? How much time have you got for others? How much time are you spending enjoying the things that you're doing? How much focus are you giving to that enjoyment? And what challenges are you setting yourself? Guys, we can look at this all the way through. Same there, relaxation, recovery. We've got psychological stress. How easy do you change state? What's your sleep like? What's your load management like? All of these things are absolutely essential to you getting towards your goals. And what I've got a lot of people telling me at the minute and zoning in on is that fact that they've no gym. Well, the highest case scenario is that having no gym is going to have less than a 5% effect on what you're trying to control at the minute. Because we can still control your training, still control your frequency, still control how long you train for, your structure can still be there, your progression can still be there. So what I want to jump in. Sorry, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I want to jump in here and I want to sort of ask you guys sort of just to have a look at those key 5 things and question yourself which ones maybe do you not normally have to spend a lot of time doing that all of a sudden you do? Which ones are you not necessarily very good at that maybe you need to learn a little bit more and develop? Because I know that a lot of the clients that come to FX, you're sort of quite highly motivated, you're quite driven, and that's probably because you've got a good structure in fitness and nutrition. But right now we're in a position where for some of you, the other things are going to be massively important, you know, fulfillment, time for you, time for others. Yeah, exactly. So we're looking at it like, you know, slightly differently. There's going to be different things. There's going to be new elements of stress that maybe you're not a stressed person, but maybe your anxiety levels are through the roof at the minute. And I know that a lot of my clients have been saying that and saying, you know, I've just felt out of control and they're losing motivation and sort of obviously worried because the fulfillment, maybe like, let's talk about spending time with others. That's going to massively reduce pretty soon. You know, what you normally do for fulfillment might be go around to your friend's house and have the chat. You're going to have to find new ways to explore this, because if you don't do it right now from day 1 and week 1, then by week 2 or 3, we know, because I've run this as a program and a course, we know that one of these missing right now, it won't matter this week. Honestly, it won't. And it won't matter next week. But by week 3, it'll be a big deal. And it'll be the one thing that I point at and I say, well, this is what was missing there. You've got to make sure that you sort of put time in for every single one of these things on here. If you look at like what I've been talking about in the mornings, I went out for a walk. And this is because that what I normally might do in my day and the normal routine and normal structure, I know that as soon as I woke up this morning, the first thing that I did was open my emails in bed at 5:30 this morning, straight up, oh God, open my emails. And I was like, Jay, come on, you know that there's a pattern to this. You know that there's things that I need to do first to get me in the right frame of mind for the day. We've all got stuff to do at the minute. I nearly swore then. We've all got stuff to do at the minute. We've all got increased stress. We all might not necessarily feel like we can relax. And certainly at home, I don't know how you guys have seen, Archie's just been in for a lolly. Charlie's just walked past because he's bored and it's only, 10? There's all these new bits of fulfillment that I'm going to have to start to plan and think about. And what we said on Monday to the coaches and coaches, some of you guys watching this, planning your weekly schedule for training is one thing. Planning the days that you're going to show up, the days that you're going to take action, the days that you're going to train is one area of this. Your nutrition's a completely separate one. And now you've got fulfillment, relaxation, and recovery that maybe aren't necessarily normally important to you. But right now, you've got to get them in your diary. You've got to say, every morning, for example, me at the minute, every morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to go for a walk first thing. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And I make a little coffee and just get out and go for a walk. If it rains, I might have to swap that to meditation or something. But I'm putting new things in place to help keep me motivated. And I think for you guys, I really want you to double down and focus on this. This is the key for longevity within this challenge. Not week 1, not week 2. It'll impact you week 3.
100%. And guys, getting things in place for now, the first things to look at, fitness, nutrition, make sure that you're on top of them week 1, because they're the things that have been shifted probably the most. Obviously stress management as well, because that's going to be a massive factor for a lot of you guys this week. And when we talk about this key 5, this isn't because this is the way that we see it. This is because it's what happens. When you look at the bigger picture of how you get results, these are the things that you need to consider. This is physiology, this is psychology. These are the things, if you're not on top of it, we're not going to be moving forward and making progress. So this is the approach that I want you all to take. Be good in all of the areas. Don't be perfect in any. Don't worry about perfection, because being 100% in any one of those areas, if it's at the cost of the others, is not going to get you results. Being 95% in all of the areas will start moving you towards your results. And then we're looking for small improvements in every area, from good to better to best, all the way through. Small improvements, whatever you can do to work around your routine to slightly improve the full picture, you're going to be getting awesome results from doing that, guys. So you need to be thinking about building the systems, building the structures, and we'll talk about habits right at the end, but they need to be in to allow you to control this. Again, achieving health and fitness goals with home workouts over the next 8 weeks it's not just, it's possible to do. There is no reason at all why you wouldn't make at least as solid progress as what you've been making so far.
I actually think that most of my clients, especially, most of you, especially when you've been with fitness experience for a long time, or you've been in a routine and a structure for a long time, that certainly not that you can get a bit lazy, if you will, but you sort of get into the routine and the challenge sort of stops. And I think that when you're a human being, we thrive off challenge. We have to have that challenge. And we're going to talk about that a bit later on, I'm sure, and setting goals and targets. But if you haven't got something to aim for or something to achieve, and you haven't got that black and white, whether you're winning or losing, then it becomes very difficult. So when we're normal in our normal routine and we know we tick 3 times at the gym, tick, yeah, I've done that. Unless you've got a specific target and specific goal that every week you're trying to achieve, sometimes motivation can dwindle. So right now is a perfect opportunity for those little tweaks in diet that you wanted to do. Someone wants to change the body fat, for example. There's not been a better opportunity for somebody to start to change body fat as right now. Yeah. Because you're going to be able to control your energy levels. You're going to be able to control how often you sweat for in a day. Even if that's skipping, jumping, how many of the home workouts you can do. There's no real recovery. Not no real, but there's a lot of these sessions don't have a high amount of recovery time in. So it might allow you to train maybe 3 times a day in some cases, maybe twice, maybe one long walk, maybe a workout. And this is a perfect opportunity for you guys trying to reduce body fat to spend an 8-week block on reducing your body fat. Yeah. I'm going to sort of set myself that little challenge and sort of say, you know what, this has changed for me. This has changed my daily routine, daily structure. I'm forced to do things differently. So why not use that and sort of double down on a different approach to say, this is what I'm going to be looking at. This is what I'm going to concentrate on. This is my specific target to lose 2 pounds a week, whatever else it is. So yeah.
Guys, we do get, we get lost in that routine. We get lost in sort of the day-to-day stuff, and we get caught up in the wrong things, and the stress starts to build. One of the positives, and Vicky, what you're saying there as well, is that this breaks that routine. This breaks that day-to-day stuff that you may have been sort of getting a bit carried away with and not spending enough time on you. Now you have to change something. So you have to be spending time on you, or you should certainly be spending time on you. Something has to change, and where this attention should go, where this energy should go, is into things that are going to focus on getting you to where you want to be. Like I said, if you're putting your health or your mindset to one side until it's a better time, that's a wrong approach, guys. But now is the time to change it.
And it's not just us that talk about mindset, and it's not just me and Josh. But I mean, I think that the reason that I know so much about it is because of the places that we've already been in. Like Josh is saying there, the amount of stress and stuff. And I know a lot of my clients have this sort of amount of stress, but when you're in stress, when you're in a stressful situation, sometimes you just revert back to habits, revert back to bad habits, and then bad habits sort of keep you in that situation forever. And you might have dealt with you might have done the same thing for a long time, But this is right now is unprecedented. You know, we haven't ever been through this situation before. So it is the perfect opportunity to start to try to look at like developing your mind, how you control your state, how you sort of feel more, even as far as to say more spiritual in some cases, you know, what's your purpose for being here? What type of person do you want to be? This is a perfect opportunity to reset everything, to have a look from the outside and really look at your sort of goals.
So guys, you know,
and structure's key.
So where we are is setting your focus. So what's really important now that we know what you sort of the overview is, now that we know the clarity on what's true in that situation, what are the things that you now need to focus on in terms of timings, in terms of focusing on yourself, in terms of where your attention goes over the next few weeks. Now we need to get specific and look at what do you want to achieve, and look at this long term. Where do you want to be in 12 months time, 5 years, however long term you want. But then let's take those first steps over the next 8 weeks to make sure that you are on the track to getting there. The biggest thing with this is that we speak to people quite often in terms of this conversation, and the answer is always, oh, I just want to get fit, I just want to get healthier. That's fine, but that's never going to be strong enough to allow you to make the progress that you need to make. It's never going to be strong enough to allow you to keep moving forward when those decisions get tough to make. So what we need to do is start to peel back the layers a little bit. And we need to start to look at, why do you want to achieve that? You're telling me that you want to get fit. Why? What's important to you? Is it fitness? Is it a six-pack that you want? Or is it a different way that you want people to be looking at you? Do you want to set a different example for people? Do you want to just focus on your health? Is it much more health related? Is it that you've got health concerns that you need to get on top of? Keep digging into these layers and you'll build a really clear picture of what it is that you want to achieve and why you want to achieve it. Once you've got that, guys, it's going to make all the difference in terms of when we talk about motivation and willpower and things later on. This is where it starts. I know that a lot of you will have heard us speak about this before as well. You'll have heard us say, oh, guys, why are you doing this? What do you want to achieve? And you'll have sort of started that process, started moving it forward. But what I want you to do right now is write it down. Because I know that a lot of people say, yeah, this is what I want to achieve. And then that sort of dies off in a couple of days after, and they sort of forget and they get caught up chasing the things that are the superficial things on the end without looking a little bit deeper at what's going to be important to you moving forward. And guys, this is the most common reason, 100%. In fact, it's potentially the only reason that anybody fails with a fitness journey. Starts here.
And this is really important that I sent out this question to my clients yesterday, and it's funny because some of the answers are so generic that in this climate you won't be able to achieve generic. You've got to be so specific with it. You know, just keep fit, keep healthy. What does that mean? Like, let's talk about what I want to achieve in 8 weeks' time. Don't just think about physical results. Think about, I want to get to the gym, or not the gym. Everyone wants to get to the gym. I want to train. Them workouts that you've set on my app, Jimmy, I'm going to put 5 of those in. I'm also going to do 5 walks, 2 runs. Be very specific with what you're going to say, because if you do that, and we have a scoring system with the people on the diary with us, but if you do that, you can actually see how close to achieving your goal you are. Because if you don't have it and you just say, I want to stay fit, what does that mean? How does that look? You know, are you able to quantify whether or not you're on track or whether you're not? So focus is really, it has to be more specific than something like, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. You've got to be structured. You've got to know what day you're training, what day you're doing mindset stuff. Mindset stuff is important. How are you going to challenge yourself every day? What's the first thing you're going to do in the morning? David Goggins talks about this quite a bit, and he says, you know, when you get up in the morning, I was told to make my bed. And people that are told to make the bed, one second, pal. I'll make a start. One thing that people do when they first wake up is make the bed. And there's one thing, it weren't David Goggins, it was someone else, I can't remember who. But the one thing about making your bed in the morning is that it's the first thing that you've done is achieve something. You've set a goal, you've got up and you've achieved something straight away. And that's the very first action that you've taken. So even though it sounds daft to put things like that in, if you have a tick sheet on your fridge that says, every single day, I am going to do this, and you put them rules that you're going to live by down, and you write them down on a thing and say, this is what I'm going to do every day. Yes, I'm going to stay fit and healthy for 8 weeks, but how does that look? You know, what behaviors do I need to do on a ritual daily basis that's going to help me get to that? So how am I going to behave? Where Josh has put there, what do you really want to achieve? Like, what daily behaviors, daily habits do you need to concentrate on to actually get you from point A to point B? That means that you might have to still track your calories. It might mean that you have to do the home workouts that we put on your app. It might mean that you have to go for a walk. It might mean that you have to, like Vicky said, do some self-development stuff. If you've got a big tick sheet, let's say everyone today write down 10 points, because we use the 10-point system. Everyone today write down 10 things that on a daily basis you've got to do. And then at the end of the day, look at them 10 things and say, what did I and what didn't I do? What actions helped me progress towards my goal today? Try that today. Write down 10 things. Archie's just making some notes on my diary. That's a good going.
Guys, willpower. Listen, people tell us all the time, oh, I can't do that. It was willpower. Why did you fail your last diet? It was willpower. I guarantee you that's not true. Okay? Whatever you've failed on, whenever willpower's come up as an issue, it's not the willpower that's the issue. It is the systems that you've got in place leading you towards making those decisions. And we use an example in the Fat Loss for Busy People ebook. And the example was, you know, driving past McDonald's after you've been in a really high stress state for a couple of hours and you've skipped lunch and your body's struggling to control its sugar levels and things like that. And you've had no other plan and you've had no access to other food in a day. Guys, you're going to, you know, in that situation, most people would stop and get some food. Once physiology starts to take over, willpower is not really a thing. What we can do is control that physiology, control that psychology, control as many factors as possible. And by controlling those factors, and guys, this doesn't even come into it. You don't even notice that the McDonald's is there. You don't even notice those foods are there. Now, that's obviously just an example, but not having willpower, the key things is, like the key take home from this is that willpower is never, ever your issue. Willpower is only something that people talk about because they don't have the systems in place. Once we put the systems in place, then it becomes a choice. It becomes a choice of, I either want to move towards my goal or I don't want to move towards my goal. And if it's I don't want to move my goal, it's because your goal doesn't align. What you think your goal is isn't actually what your goal is. You're not actually bothered about achieving it. And that's where it comes in terms of, oh, yeah, I just want to get fit. I just want to get healthier and things. Well, until you have a very clear understanding of what it is specifically that you want to achieve, what it takes to get there and why you want to achieve it, then willpower is always going to come up as the reason that you've failed. When realistically, it's that you either haven't got the systems in place, or you are making the decision to go against what you're telling people your goal is. Jay, anything that you want to add before we move on from willpower?
I sort of talk about, I've just got a message off Shaw saying, I can hear you lecturing people about making your bed in the morning. I didn't say I did it. She's upstairs. Hey, Arch, keep going, me remember. So one thing that I sort of speak about willpower is that as long as you sort of identify initially sort of who you want to be and the type of behaviors that you want to create, it can't really be a case of willpower. You either choose one thing is more important than the other, or you don't. Well, so if, for example, there's a decision to be made, it's what you put your priority on. It's what you see as the more important of the two. And there's nothing wrong with having low willpower. It's just, you've got to be honest that you're making the decision that the chocolate bar is more important than the workout, or your 5-minute rest is more important. Willpower is a bit of a myth, because, you know, there's no such thing as like, I really don't have the willpower to get up and go and do that workout, because it shouldn't be willpower that makes you do that. You've stated that that's what you want to achieve. You've stated that that's how you're going to live your life, and that it's so important to you, that it's more important than anything, yet you don't value it more and don't put the value on that more than you put the value on sitting on your arse and watching TV instead of getting up and doing a workout. So I think willpower is a myth because of that. You know, what you can't, you've got to sort of say what is felt like the most valuable thing for you to do at the time. Yeah, it's bullshit.
Guys, motivation. Jamie sent me this quote as well. He sent 2 quotes. Just must have been feeling feeling in that sort of mood this morning. But action isn't just the effect of motivation, it's the cause. And I absolutely agree with that. You know, we get up, we get the systems in place, and we get up and we do something. And, you know, how often, for you guys, how often does your diet start to go a little bit wrong and then everything fall apart? Your training goes off track and your daily habits go off track, or vice versa. Any area that starts to fall apart and all the rest goes off track, you sort of get on the F-it wagon, as Jeremy calls it. And once we do that, you know, it's because we stop doing these little things. If every decision that you make is moving you towards your goal, guys, you are dead motivated. When you are in the system and we believe that we make those decisions because we're motivated. What if it's the other way around? What if we are motivated because we're making those decisions every day? Make a commitment to making the decisions that's going to move you towards your goals. And if you do that, if you commit, and sometimes you won't want to necessarily get started with that. Sometimes you won't feel like making that decision. Sometimes you won't feel like training. There'll be something else that's gone on in your day that knocks you. Go in and do it anyway, because that's going to pick your motivation back up. And again, if we've got clarity, as long as we're aligned with what our main goal is, as long as we're focused and we know what we're trying to achieve, as long as we've got the systems in place, then it comes down to making the decision to do it. If you make the decision to do it and you're aligned with all those things, then you're going to be motivated. If you make the decision not to do it, or the decision to do something isn't aligned with what your actual goals are, you're not going to be motivated, obviously. You know, we're looking at that. Action isn't just the effect of motivation, it's the cause. Don't wait for it to happen. Jay, anything that you want to put into that?
I think people talk about motivation, but you've got to make motivation be visible and be there. You've got to get up and set yourself up to be motivated. So many people allow motivation to be so far away from them. So, for example, we talk about habits, and have we got a section on habits, Josh?
Next slide.
Next slide. So we talk about habits, which will lead on to well. But if motivation is something that you've got to do 10 steps to go and get, it can get lost within that. So, for example, if you want to do a workout in the morning, but you don't know what time, you haven't really set your trainers out the night before, you don't really know what workout you're going to do, you haven't scheduled that's what it's going to be, then there's all these obstacles that you've got to overcome first before you get to the workout. Whereas if for motivation, you plan that in, you structure it, you say, this is what I'm going to do on this day, it's there, I've got my trainers ready the night before, it's easy. And that makes it easy to find the motivation. Instead of putting having to get up in the morning, right, what can I wear this morning to train? Right, when can I do it? When can I fit it in my diary? Right, what one am I going to do? All these little things, every single time you've got to ask yourself that what or when or why or whatever. Every time you've got to do that, you just come one step further away from your end goal and what's important to you. So having a clear picture, planning out what you've got to do and making sure that it's in your diary, and not just thinking that you can wing this, not just thinking that motivation will happen and you can wing when it's going to come, and that one day I'm going to wake up and think, wow, the sun is shining this morning, here I go. Motivation doesn't happen like that, because tomorrow morning I set off this morning quite well motivated. Yes, the sun was out, but tomorrow it might be pissing it down. Yeah. And if that's going to be the limiting factor that stops me, and that's going to be like, oh, I had no motivation because it was raining. Bullshit. How are you going to say that you had no motivation because it's raining? That's sort of not in line with your values.
It comes back to creating the motivation, guys. So again, you will find days where you wake up and you're particularly motivated. Like I said, you're motivated to go for a walk because it's a sunny day. Motivated to train because you've seen something on TV that motivates you that day, or you've realigned it with your goals. But the thing is that when you're waiting for something else to create your motivation, that's also going to destroy it. As soon as those days come up, like Jamie said, the weather's wrong, the situation's different, you watch a different program on TV. If you're waiting for this, that's going to stop your motivation. So what we have to look for, the system for this, is clarity. Find the truth of the situation. Focus by setting your goal and knowing exactly what it is that you want to achieve. But the only bit that's missing now, before we start taking action, is getting the plan in place. We need to set up for success. And guys, we do that through these habits. So we do that through daily habits. So every single day, what we need to know what are the key things that you need to do that day. First thing that you need to do realistically for all of you, and I would genuinely, this isn't just a slide, this is what I am suggesting that you all make sure you have done. Have a structure for your week. Make sure that you know when your training is going to be. Once you're clear on what your goals are and things like that, make sure that you set a time. When can I train? What am I doing with my diet? What am I doing in all of this other time now that I'm at home for? Am I going to focus on more personal development stuff? When am I going to go for a walk? When am I going to go and, what am I doing? Have I got kids at home and things like that that I need to now put something in? Get a plan. First thing, jot it down, make sure that you've got timing. Then what I want you to do is stick to that plan. I want you to make sure that it's scheduled in. Book appointments with yourself. So if you're training at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's in your diary. Try not to let that change. Try to make sure that that is set. If you know when you're going to eat, try and get a structure to your meal timings. Try to just fit your day into this. This time I'm doing this, this time I'm doing this, this time I'm doing this. Because at the minute, a lot of us have lost this structure. And by losing that structure, what it's going to mean is that everything goes chaotic. You can control that though. That's completely down to you. So put the structure back in your day. Even if it's completely different to what it was last week or the week before, you can now create a structure that works for you, that allows you to focus on your health, allows you to focus on your personal development, allows you to focus on everything else, and works in conjunction with your goals. Once we've got that structure, just stick to it. Do it every day. Make sure that you know when you're weighing it, when your weigh-ins are and things like that. Do it every single day and it will become a routine. You won't really need to think about it. They will become habits. What we need to focus on is making sure that we are building the right habits in the right areas. So we know that things like weigh-ins are going to be important for the next few weeks. So when are they going to be done? And can we make that automatic? We know that things like training is going to be important for the next few weeks. When is that going to be done? Schedule it in, make the appointment, and then make it part of what you do day to day. Same in terms of the times that you eat. Same in terms of your bedtime routine and how much you sleep. Make sure that it's enough. And stress management's a new one that you guys are probably going to have to put in. So look at it from how can I improve every single area? And we go with the 1%. If you can improve every area 1%, start off well and keep building and keep stacking them up. Don't let any of the areas drop. They are obviously going to be under more stress at certain times, but keep improving each area. Can I improve my sleep today? Okay, how do I do that? Okay, what's my schedule going to be? What's my bedtime? Right, well, I'm trying to get to sleep at 11 p.m. and I'm sat in bed for 2 hours. What am I doing just before that? And we can look at all of these systems and we can say, right, well, from 9 p.m., you need to be making sure that you are starting to wind down so that you are able to get to sleep. There's all of these things that we can put in place. They are going to be an individual basis, guys. Your daily habits have to work for you. So your daily habits are individual. Jay, go.
There's some very simple rules on habits, and there's a great book called Atomic Habits. If any of you's got extra time and stuff like that at a minute, these are what they say. They say that there's something called a feedback loop, and it's like your body's been designed over the years to try to sort of find the easiest thing to do, and it sort of wants to do things that are either easy, attractive, satisfying, and obvious. And they're the sort of rules that it says. So it says you've got to have a cue. So you've got to make something very obvious. So like I said, your trainers need to be there next to a kettlebell, and that's going to be when you do the workout. It also should be scheduled in your diary. The alarm's gone off, wake up, get that workout done. Make it attractive. What are the results from the workout? How am I going to, what's this workout going to give me? What's going to make me feel good? I want to feel good. It's going to give me strength. It's going to help me reduce my body fat. Make it easy is a difficult one, but make it easy isn't like make the workout easy. Make it easy is make it easy to roll out of bed, get a quick shower, and just get it done. Just get started. That's things like having, maybe water in the fridge, things like preparing your trainers, that sort of thing. And making it satisfying is something that you feel a real sense of achievement when you've done this. You've wrote down why that was important to you to do it. And then you've actually had the satisfaction of being able to say to yourself, I got up this morning and I did what I said I was going to do. And there's nothing more important than that, sort of how you will feel about these things. And when we talk about creating habits, there's some simple rules that you've got to get in, and you've got to make sure that you do.
Yeah. At the minute, guys, as well, we're looking at, there's no way, to be extremely clear, that for 99% of you, there's no way that you can approach the next couple of weeks how you've approached the last few weeks and expect success. So you need to spend a little bit of time, a little bit of effort on setting up. Make sure that you've got a workout space set up that is easy to access, that is going to be there, going to allow you to train and get a lot out of your training at the times that you've scheduled to train. Take a little bit more time, guys, this week. planning your week, planning your structure, and making sure that everything's there to do. If your workout space is doubling up as something else, make sure that by the time you are needing it for a workout, you don't need to go and reshuffle it. You don't need to go and move desks around and things like that. Make sure that it's already set up. So do that beforehand, because you want to make the decision to train easy. You want to make the decision to get the right foods easy. Just making sure that you're considering that all the way through, because obviously that's going to be crucial as we move forward. So guys, key points on this webinar is that find the truth of the situation. Don't buy into these, oh, well, I can't get fit over the next couple of weeks because X, Y, and Z. You absolutely can. And actually, you'll probably find that you've got far more opportunity to move forward than you had 2 and 3 weeks ago. Find your goal. Make sure that you're extremely clear on what your goal is and what your goal has to be. What do you want to achieve and why do you want to achieve it? Plan. Get yourself a structure. This is so, so important. Everything's changed this week. So make sure that you have a structure. Make sure that you know what times you're going to be training. Make sure that you know where you're going to be training. Make sure you know what times you're going to be eating, and what your days are going to be filled with. Put a structure in place, because when we're in work, traveling to work from 7 a.m. and then you might be in work from 8 till 5 and then coming back and get home for 6, make your tea and things like that. Training around that is fine, because your structure is already determined. For a lot of you at the minute, that structure isn't determined. You need to decide where everything is going to be. Everything that you can plan, because at the minute, that's going to give you the opportunity to take control of this situation and start making progress. And guys, once we've got the plan, the motivation side of it comes down to sticking to it. Take action. Make the decision every single day to do what you said you'd do. And by doing that, you're going to move forward. Jay, final words.
The most important thing, like we've said here, guys, is that you've actually shown up and you've started with this. What I would suggest is that people rewatch this webinar. Like, I'm not saying that you need to rewatch it with, you could even just re-listen to it, because there's not really that much graphics. So maybe your next walk that you're on, get your phone, and this is what I do when I listen to a book. Yeah, just get your phone, and as you're walking around, if you just type in the key things from it. So when we say like write a list, just go back, press pause on the podcast, because we'll put it on a podcast, I presume, Josh, yeah?
I can take it,
yeah. Press pause, and then write down them 10 things that you're going to do every day. You know, I think what's real key for people that's about to start a new 8-week challenge and an 8-week block is that this is the job number one. This, if you want to succeed at this, you've got to get this right first. You know, you have got to get this sort of wrote down and got to get yourself very clear on what's motivating you, how you want to behave, what you want to achieve from this. And if you don't have that right now, then rewatching this, have a serious think about some of this stuff, because it's going to be the thing that gets you. It's going to be the thing that gets you done.
Right,
Josh, I'm going to leave it here.
Recording here. So
just end the recording.
and I'll answer questions now.